Thomas did not think. He moved. The sight of her at the door stripped him of every careful thought he had practiced. This was not restraint. This was not guilt. This was fear. Real fear. The kind that rises when something precious stands one step away from being gone forever. His breath shortened. His chest tightened. Eliza was his first love. The first woman who had seen him without inheritance, without authority, without his father standing between who he was and who he feared becoming. And now she was leaving. He reached her before she could step forward, not to command, not to stop her, but because the silence had finally become unbearable. "Thomas, Eliza, please." The words surprised them both. Please. She did not turn. He had faced townsmen with knives, faced isolation, faced the weight of generations, but the thought of her walking away, that terrified him. "I don't know how to do this right, but I know I can't lose you." The house held its breath. Eliza remained still. She had imagined this moment, but not like this. Not with his voice unguarded. Not with fear finally honest. Eliza, quiet, steady. "You don't get to want me only when I'm leaving." The words were not cruel, they were true. Thomas swallowed. Every lesson he had learned about control abandoned him now. "I was afraid." He exhaled sharply. "Afraid of hurting you. Afraid of taking what wasn't mine to take. Afraid of becoming him." He gestured, not toward the house, toward history. This was not confession for forgiveness. It was confession because silence had failed. "But I loved you long before I knew what love was supposed to look like." Eliza closed her eyes, just for a moment. Eliza did not turn. The silence stretched longer than Thomas could bear. Each second she remained facing the open door felt like a step farther away from him. Fear flooded where restraint once lived. His hands trembled. His breath faltered. And for the first time since inheriting his father's name, Thomas Hale forgot how to stand. He dropped to his knees. The sound echoed softly against the floor. "Thomas, please, don't leave me." The words came undone with him. Tears blurred his vision, unguarded, humiliating, honest. He bowed his head, shoulders shaking. "Thomas, I don't know how to be better fast enough. I don't know how to unlearn everything I was raised to believe." His voice cracked. "Thomas, but loving you is the only thing I know is true." Eliza turned. Slowly, she looked down at him, not as a master fallen, but as a man stripped bare by fear. She saw desperation in his eyes, not control, not possession, loss. She knelt in front of him, not beneath, with. Her hands came gently to his face, warm, steady. Eliza, soft, full of weight. "My poor Thomas." Her thumbs brushed the tears he had not wiped away. In that moment she saw everything he carried. A father's shadow, a world that punished kindness. A man who had given her people their freedom and never once raised his hand against them. She felt the truth settle in her chest. Love did not erase fear, but fear did not erase love. Eliza, quiet, resolute. "I have seen what you've given, and I know what it cost you." She drew a slow breath. "I will stay." Thomas looked up, hope breaking through grief. She did not smile. "Eliza, but not without my terms." The house held its breath again, this time for her. She did not remove her hands from his face right away. Eliza stayed kneeling in front of him, steady where he had fallen apart. She had not expected to see him like this, stripped of certainty, unshielded by name or position. But she had seen men break before. What mattered was what they did after. Eliza, quiet, measured. "If I stay, it will not be as I was before." Thomas nodded quickly, still on his knees. I know. She studied him, not searching for guilt, searching for truth. This was not negotiation. This was definition. Eliza, I will not be spoken to as property, not in anger, not in fear, not ever. Thomas, firm, immediate. Never. She did not soften. Eliza, I will not be hidden when it is convenient, or protected when it costs you nothing, and restrained when it frightens you. Her voice did not rise. That made it stronger. Thomas lowered his eyes, not in shame, in listening. Eliza, and we will not live like strangers. He looked up then. Eliza, no more separate rooms. The words landed between them. Eliza, we will share the same bed, not because I owe you anything, but because I will not remain half present in my own marriage. Silence followed. Thomas swallowed hard. This was the moment fear returned, not of her leaving, but of failing her again. Thomas, carefully, honest. I want that. His voice shook slightly. Thomas, but I need you to be patient with me. He did not explain. He did not justify. Thomas, I am still learning how to want you without fearing what that want might become. Eliza searched his face. This time, she nodded. Eliza, I can be patient. She leaned closer. Eliza, but I will not be invisible. Thomas met her gaze fully. Thomas, you won't be. She rose first, not because the moment had ended, but because the terms had been set. She extended her hand, not as permission, as partnership. Thomas took it and stood. The day continued. Life did not pause because they almost lost each other. The sun continued its slow climb. Orders were given. Meals were planned. The house returned to movement. Eliza stepped back into her routines, not as retreat, but as grounding. She directed the kitchen with quiet authority, oversaw the preparation of supper, restored order without fanfare. This was how she steadied herself. Thomas watched her from a distance, not because he wished to command, but because he was afraid to disturb the fragile balance she had allowed to remain. She had stayed, but staying did not mean the fear was gone. Evening came gently. They sat at the table together, as they had before, but not as they had before. Thomas barely touched his food. His hands lingered near his plate, then withdrew. Eliza noticed. She always did. Are you unwell? Thomas shook his head. No, I'm fine. But she knew him well enough now to hear what he did not say. Fear sat in him, heavy and unspoken. Not of her anger, but of the night ahead. You're thinking too much. He allowed a faint, nervous breath of a smile. I'm afraid of doing this wrong. She did not answer right away. The truth was simple. He had agreed to her terms, but agreement did not quiet his fear. Knowing she would come to his room, knowing she would sleep in his bed, made his hands tremble more than the wound ever had. Eliza rose first. I'll see you later. The words landed heavier than any command. Night settled over the house. Thomas stood in his room, unsure of where to place his hands. The bed felt too large, too loud in its silence. Every sound from the hallway made his chest tighten. Then, a knock. Soft, measured. The door opened. Eliza stood there. She wore a simple nightgown, pale linen, long-sleeved, modest and unadorned. Her hair was loose beneath a soft wrap. No jewelry, no armor, just presence. She met his eyes steadily.
May I come in?
Thomas swallowed. Yes. He stepped aside, and for the first time, the night truly began. The room was quiet. Not empty. Quiet. They stood on opposite sides of the bed, the weight of the day still clinging to the air between them. Thomas moved carefully, every motion measured, as though sudden movement might break something fragile. He sat at the edge of the bed, shoulders tense, hands clasped together too tightly. Eliza noticed. She always did. Fear sat on him plainly now. Not fear of her, fear of himself. She stepped closer, not into his space, but near enough to be felt. You don't have to be afraid. Thomas let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. I'm trying not to be. She studied him for a moment, then spoke again, not pressing, not probing. What were you like as a boy? The question surprised him. It wasn't a test, it was an offering. Thomas, I was quiet, always watching. His voice softened as memory found him. Thomas, my mother used to say I thought too much. Eliza smiled faintly. Eliza, she sounds kind. His expression warmed, just slightly. Thomas, she was. A pause. Eliza, and your father? His body stiffened, not sharply, instinctively. Eliza saw it immediately. The way his shoulders tightened, the way his gaze dropped. She did not push. She did not ask again. Eliza, gentle, changing course. You carry a lot. Thomas nodded once. That night she learned what he never knew how to say aloud. That restraint had not come from distance, but from fear of inheritance. Fear that love, once allowed too close, might become something cruel. She moved to the other side of the bed. They lay down slowly. No rush, no expectation. The space between them remained, but it no longer felt like separation. It felt like care. Thomas lay staring at the ceiling, breath shallow. Eliza turned toward him. Her hand reached out, not far, just enough to rest against his sleeve. Thomas, barely audible. I don't want to hurt you. Eliza, I know. And in that knowing, the night finally softened. They slept, not tangled, not claimed, but understood. Thomas woke slowly, not startled, not afraid, aware. For a moment, he did not understand why the room felt different. Then he remembered. The bed, the quiet, the space she had chosen to share. He turned his head. Eliza was gone. The other side of the bed lay undisturbed, neatly made, as though she had slipped away before dawn. Relief came first, then disbelief. She had stayed, and he had not failed her. He sat up, drawing in a slow breath. The faint scent of her lingered in the room. Linen, soap, warmth. Proof that the night had been real. He understood then why she had asked him those questions. Not to soften him. To see him. To learn the shape of his fear. And in being seen, something inside him shifted. Not healed, but steadied. I can be better. Not for the house, not for the past, for her. Eliza was already awake, already moving. She returned to the house before the sun fully rose, not to prove anything, but because routine had always been her anchor. She moved through the halls with calm authority, issuing quiet instructions, restoring order. Her posture was unchanged, but the house felt it. Servants noticed, not whispers, not questions, just recognition. She was not passing through, she was placed. Thomas entered the room a short while later. He did not speak at first. He watched, not from distance, from respect. When he finally joined her, he did not correct, did not command. He followed her lead. And in that simple act, the house shifted. Change did not announce itself. It revealed itself in behavior, in choices made without being asked, in mornings that began differently than the night before. And Eliza saw it. She did not smile, not yet, but she stayed. The day opened fully. Morning carried on as mornings always did. Work began. Voices moved through the house. The world did not pause to witness quiet change. Eliza stepped onto the porch first. She stood for a moment, taking in the land, the fields, the road beyond them, the sky widening above. Thomas joined her. Not behind, not ahead, beside. They did not speak right away. There was nothing left to explain. He did not reach for her hand. She did not offer it. And yet, they moved forward together, down the steps, across the yard. Their pace matched, not by effort, but by choice. This was not freedom claimed, not love declared. It was something quieter, something harder. A future entered without certainty, but with intention. Eliza glanced at him, just once, not to reassure, to acknowledge. Thomas met her gaze and nodded. No promise spoken, only the willingness to keep walking. And so they did. Love did not arrive with certainty. It arrived with choice. And that morning, they chose. Not perfection, not promises, but the courage to keep walking together.